Do you guys remember when the Detroit Red Wings had a really good start last season, and there were a lot of us who thought, oh, maybe this is the year they break into the playoffs? Yeah, me too. But so far this year, it hasn't really been that. And I think it's good to look at some positive before we get into the real negative. Because when you guys hear these underlying numbers that the Red Wings have, you're going to be like, oh, how are they a game below 500 with those numbers? And I think there's a really good chance that if they lose today against Boston, Derek Lalonde, the head coach, might be gone, to be honest with you guys. Not saying that that could happen, not saying that it will happen, but I think that it's actually very possible and it could happen for sure. So let's take a look at 23-24. Their record on the day that I'm making this video, November 23rd, was 9-6-3 for 21 points. And this season, they are 8-9-2 for 18 points. And first off, I just want to say happy 1-year anniversary to me and my girlfriend. She's a big Red Wings fan, and the reason why I picked November 23rd as the date of this video is because it is our 1-year anniversary, and she is a big Detroit Red Wings fan. So I thought that would be a pretty cool thing to do. But regardless, that's what I got to do right after this video drops. But let's take a look at the underlying numbers for the Red Wings this season. And again, as I said, you guys are going to hear these numbers and think to yourself, how are they a game below 500? So they are tied for third in least goals scored this season. They are second in least 5v5 goals this year. They have the worst penalty kill in the NHL. They're very close with Anaheim. They have the 9th worst goal differential. They are second least in shots. This season. And as of right now, at the time of recording of this video, they are 24th in the NHL. Yeah. No. That is, honestly, it makes it surprising that they actually have a record that they do. How are they only a game below 500 with these absolutely abysmal numbers? And that's because they played a few games against the New York Islanders, and they're winning these games 2-1, 1-0. Again, they had a game earlier this season where they had 11 shots. 11 shots, and they won the game somehow. I don't know what's more embarrassing. The fact that you had 11 shots, or the fact that the team you played against, it was the Islanders, by the way, the fact that you still beat that team. It's actually insane, like how bad their underlying numbers really are. Like, they are down there with the bottom feeding teams. The bottom feeding teams that we expected to be, this bad, like Montreal, like Chicago, like San Jose, Anaheim. Nashville's down there too, but that was also kind of a surprise as well. And I think a lot of it can be tracked back to they lost a few of the guys who really made this team click last season, that being Shane Gostisbehere, Daniel Sprong, few other names, and it just feels like there's a whole different atmosphere around this team right now. And I think another part of it too is because they shot at a very high percentage as a team, and usually that doesn't last. And look at that. They're kind of off to a slow start this year, and they're tied for third in least goals scored this year. It has been an abysmal start for this Red Wings team. There is only 2 players who have more than 6 goals this season, and I think that is actually insane when you look at the grand scheme of things. So let's get into that here first. Now, Lucas Raymond only has 3 goals this season, but is still producing at a pretty solid level. He has 3 goals, 15 assists for 18 points this season. I would say that's a pretty solid number. You may not be scoring a ton, but you are getting assists, and I think that's definitely a good thing. The guy who he's giving the assists to is Dylan Larkin, who has 11 goals, 5 assists for 16 points, and Alex DeBrincat, who has 8 goals, 9 assists, and 17 points. Those are your 2 players who are scoring the most amount of your goals. Dylan Larkin, I think, is on pace for like 50 goals right now, which is a pretty good underlying metric. And I look at how, those two guys have played. They've both played pretty well. And also, another big positive that I really haven't mentioned is the power play. The power play has been really good this season, and I think that it's given the Red Wings a better opportunity to win. And you could argue that that's a big part in why they have won as many games as they have, is because of the power play. And again, it just shows that how worse they are on 5v5 and the penalty kill as well. It seems like the power play is this only team's metric positive right now, and it's actually kind of crazy like how slow they've been this season. Now, the guys they brought in the last 3 off seasons, that being guys like Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, Andrew Kopp, and JT Comfort. How are they all doing? Well, they all collectively combined for 31 points between the 4 of them. Sounds like it's good, but it really isn't with the amount of money that they get paid. Patrick Kane, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. He's been a little bit slow too. It's Patrick Kane. You'd think he'd be a little bit better than how he's playing so far this year. You would think he'd have more than 3 goals at almost the end of November. It's a little bit surprising, but there are sometimes players who start off slow. Andrew Kopp, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. At least he's scoring a little bit. JT Comfort, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. And then Vladimir Tarasenko, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Again, these were the guys who were brought in to make things better offensively, and they've been kind of slow. Like when you're looking at how many games they've played, their numbers aren't really that good. They aren't. And I think that for a team that scored at a really high pace last season, seeing them score at this low pace with the same guys is a little bit shocking. But then again, you think that, Daniel Sprong was a really good 4th line scorer for us. He left in the offseason. Shane Gostisbehere really connected our blue line. He left in the offseason. Again, it just shows that these examples, it really has affected this team. The guys who have left and the guys who have come in really haven't fixed the problem either. Now, you look at the blue line, and I will say this. You look at some of the guys that I haven't mentioned, like Marco Kasper's come up. He's looked good. Some of the young guys have come up into the lineup and played games, but I think that for this team, they need more of that. They maybe Nate Danielson and maybe, guys like Soderblom aren't ready, but it's about time where you start considering bringing these guys up and giving them a shot. Because this team has been in a rebuild for how long? And you still haven't really given a lot of the guys a really good shot. Kasper's getting his first real opportunity this season with the team. He's playing pretty well, but this is his first real opportunity since being drafted. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Now, the blue line has been a big positive on the first pairing. Besides that, it's been absolutely horrendous. They have the least amount of points of any defenseman. I only have 2 mentioned here that are really worth mentioning, to be honest with you. Moritz Seider, 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points. We know what Seider is. Great defenseman, great player. Simone Edvinsson, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. He's impressed me at points this year. I feel like he's been a huge positive on that blue line. The 2 of them have been. Outside of that, horrible. It has been absolutely lackluster. Jake Wallman leaving definitely really affected this roster as well. Same with Shane Gostisbehere. And, that pairing of Jeff Petrie and Ben Sherratt is one of the worst in the league. Eric Gustafsson's not panned out to the level that we believed he was going to. It has all been just an absolute dumpster fire on that Red Wings blue line, and I don't think that people realize that enough when they look at this actual team. The blue line is just not good enough. And a lot of people had this team making the playoffs. I had them making the playoffs for a decent stretch there. Then I kind of retracted my prediction a little bit because I really did look at the underlying numbers of this team, what this team lost, this team's on-paper roster, and I'm just like, this probably isn't a playoff team just yet. And I said this in podcasts. I said this in videos. I said that I don't really think Detroit took making the playoffs seriously this offseason. Because if they did, first off, they would have fixed the goalie problem. And I know the problem's looking really good right now, but at the time, it looked like a problem, and they didn't really go out and try and fix that besides Talbot. I guess they kind of did, but, we'll take that what you will. First off, they wouldn't have traded Wallman either. they would not have traded Wallman. And if they were going to trade Wallman, they wouldn't have traded him for nothing. They wouldn't have moved the second with him. That screams to me that Wallman didn't want to play with the Red Wings. What else would it be? You see Wallman doing pretty good with San Jose right now. Again, San Jose is not really that good of a team, but you see how he's performed with them. It's all there. And you look at the blue line, it is incredibly weak outside the first pairing. Incredibly weak. You really think that Ben Sherratt and Jeff Petrie is going to be your defenseman tandem, top four moving forward? No! You think they wouldn't change that? And also, they would make more of an effort to keep their offensive depth. They would. Again, I think that this is another year that Yzerman planned on of being a development year, but it may be a season where we see Derek Lalonde get fired, somebody else comes in, and this team needs to really start making big moves in the offseason. Maybe this is the year where they get like a top 3 pick, or they finally break in there and finally actually get like a high draft pick. But again, they're still winning games. That's the crazy part. They're still winning games. They are not that far below 500, and they're lucky that, and a lot of teams are lucky, that the Eastern Conference is just so tight right now. Like, Montreal could go on a 3-game winning streak. They could win their next 3 games, and they're in a playoff spot. They are 30th in the NHL right now. Like, that's how tight things are right now, and Detroit is really lucky, but their underlying numbers, even though they are kind of in the mix, make them look like one of the worst teams in the NHL. I'm just outright being honest with you guys. Now, one thing that has been a huge positive this year, and I mentioned it earlier, was the goaltending. The goaltending has actually looked really good, and it was an issue where you really wish you had it last year, because I think if they did have it last year, I think they're probably a playoff team. Probably. Cam Talbot, 5-3-2, 2.67 goals against average, a .920 save percentage. I think that's a pretty good stat line. Again, when Talbot came in, I was a little bit optimistic. I was a little bit like, I don't really know about this. But since then, he has proved me wrong. He has looked pretty good, and I think that I got to give him credit where it's due. Alex Lyons looks solid too. 3-4 though. A 2.85 goals against and a .908 save percentage. Seeing both of those goalies above a .905 is pretty good to see. I think, again, you look at how they were last season and how bad that tandem was last year. I think that's got to make you happy with how they've played so far, and I've definitely been satisfied with the goaltending at the very least. So, Detroit has just been, again, they have not had that much luck to start this year. They are lucky, though, that they are winning some games, and there is plenty of time that they can turn this around. But again, you get to that Thanksgiving and you're below the playoff line, odds are you're probably not making the playoffs. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Comment your thoughts on the Detroit Red Wings. Again, another happy anniversary to me and my girlfriend, who is a Red Wings fan. That's why I'm making this video today. And again, they do play Boston later today, so some of the stats that I mentioned in this video could change, but the problem is still there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to comment down below your thoughts on the Red Wings, and please like and subscribe down below as well. And I will see you guys in the next video.